I came home for Christmas, and my seat at the table was gone. Not moved, gone. The apple pie I baked still steamed in my hands when I saw 6 plates gleaming under the chandelier. One of them sat where mine used to be. Mom smiled like nothing was off. "It's just immediate family this year," she said, sliding a plate in front of my sister's fiancé. The room went quiet in my head like snow swallowing sound. I set the pie down, smiled back, and thought, if family is about belonging, what happens when they quietly vote you out? Mom always said Christmas was about tradition. The garland on the banister, the chipped snowman mugs, the same radio station that played Bing Crosby on loop. Everything looked the same. That's what made it worse. The perfection of it all, untouched except for the one thing missing: me. I stood in the doorway, pretending to brush snow off my coat while everyone else filled the room with voices. Emma, my sister, was glowing in a red sweater I'd given her last year. Ryan, her fiancé, laughed too loudly at something Dad said, that deep, performative laugh that fills silence and asks for approval. Mom hovered near the stove, directing everything like a stage manager who already knew her cues. "Need help with the table?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She didn't look up. "We're all set, sweetheart. It's just immediate family this year." The way she said it, flat, practical, like she was reporting the weather. She wasn't angry. She wasn't cruel. She was just certain. And that certainty hurt more than any argument ever could. I glanced at the table again. 6 plates. Mom, Dad, Emma, Ryan, Uncle Mark and his new girlfriend of 3 months, Karen. A family extended where it benefited others, trimmed where it didn't. My seat, the one I'd sat in every Christmas since I could remember, was filled by Ryan. My name card gone. My contribution erased. Emma looked up, her smile faltering just enough to show guilt. "I didn't know they were. I thought you were coming later." "Yeah," I said softly. "Guess I should have called ahead." No one corrected me. For a second, I almost pulled out a folding chair like I used to when the cousins came over, but something inside me stopped. Not anger, clarity. I'd spent years being the quiet backbone of this family, the one who sent money when bills stacked up, who fixed things before they broke. Rent for Emma, when she was between jobs. Repairs for the lake house, Dad refused to admit needed work. Grocery cards, streaming accounts. They all ran through me. I thought that made me part of them. I thought contribution meant belonging. But watching Mom set that last plate in front of Ryan, I realized it had never been about gratitude. It was about convenience. I wasn't family. I was funding. I left before dinner started. No scene, no words. Just a quiet exit through the same door I'd walked through every Christmas of my life. The cold hit harder that night, maybe because, for the first time, I didn't have anywhere warm to return to. Snow drifted down slow and soft, clinging to my coat as I stepped into the driveway. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching the windows fog up while the house behind me glowed like something out of a postcard. Through the living room window, I could see them raising glasses, laughter bouncing off walls I used to know by heart. My phone buzzed once. A message from Mom. "Is greater than, drive safe. Love you." No apology. No explanation. Just those same 3 words she sent to everyone out of habit. I wanted to type something back, something sharp, something that would make her stop and see me. But my thumbs hovered, then fell still. Instead, I turned off my phone and let the heater hum. It's strange the things that replay in your head when you finally realize you're not wanted. Like the time I stayed up all night helping Emma finish her college essay because Mom said she couldn't handle the pressure. Or the time Dad's truck broke down and I used my savings to replace the alternator before he even asked. Or when Mom hinted she couldn't cover her medical bills and I wired the money without hesitation. All those moments came back, one after another, like ghosts. And I finally saw them for what they were, not acts of love freely given, but transactions quietly expected. I used to think love in a family was unconditional. Turns out, it has fine print. And the moment you stop meeting those terms, your seat disappears. The truth landed slow but deep. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd simply replaced me with someone more convenient. That was the night something in me finally shifted. Not bitterness, not anger, just release. I rolled down the window, letting snow drift inside, cold air stinging my skin. It was freezing, but it was the first honest thing I'd felt all night. I put the car in drive and didn't look back. The next few days passed in a blur. That strange kind of silence that comes after clarity, heavy, calm, almost too still. No calls, no texts, no guilt messages disguised as check-ins. Just silence. And for once, it didn't hurt. When I got back to my apartment, it was exactly how I'd left it, quiet, small, and honest. The air smelled like coffee and cold air from the hallway. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every inch of it paid for by my own hands, my own choices. No one could uninvite me from that. The pie sat on the counter for 2 days. By the time I threw it away, the crust had gone stale. Funny how something you make with love starts to rot when the people it was meant for never show up. That week, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The calendar pinned to my fridge still had notes like Emma's rent, Dad's insurance renewal, Mom's car repair. Every square on that thing was about someone else. My whole life had been a to-do list for other people. It wasn't kindness. It was conditioning. When Emma cried, I fixed it. When Dad fell short, I covered it. When Mom sighed, I found a way to make her stop. I was trained to believe that love meant being useful. And when you're always the one people rely on, they stop seeing you as a person. You become a solution, a walking safety net. That's the cruel thing about being the dependable one. You get love for what you do, not for who you are. Late one night, I opened my laptop and went through my bank statements. Line after line, I saw it, the quiet record of how much I'd poured into them. Emma's tuition, Mom's hospital copay, Dad's truck repairs, a family trip to the lake I didn't even attend. Thousands gone, and not one thank you that didn't sound rehearsed. The worst part? I never once said no. I thought saying yes made me good. Now I saw it just made me easy to use. But that realization didn't fill me with hate, it filled me with calm. Because for the first time, I could see where I ended and they began. For the first time, I wasn't trying to earn my place. And that night, sitting under the yellow kitchen light, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if I gave that same energy to myself? The first change was small. I stopped sending money for things I didn't owe. It started when Emma texted me mid-January. Is greater than, hey, rent's due tomorrow. Can you spot me till Friday? I stared at her message longer than I should have. Old me would have transferred it before she even finished asking. But not this time. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed one word. Is greater than, sorry. No explanation. No promise to make it up later. Just sorry. She replied with a single thumbs up emoji. Then nothing. No guilt, no anger, just silence. And weirdly, it didn't hurt. It felt freeing. Next was Mom. She called about Dad's birthday dinner. Said they were celebrating at Ryan's place because he has more space. A year ago, I would have offered to host, to buy the food, to decorate the table, maybe even bring the cake. Now, I just said, sounds good. Tell him I said happy birthday. She hesitated. The kind of pause that meant she was waiting for me to fill it, like I always did. But I didn't. For once, I let the silence sit. That's when I realized something important. The moment you stop overextending, people call it distance. But it's not distance, it's balance. And balance feels like betrayal to those who benefited from your imbalance. A few weeks later, Mom called again. Her voice was polite, but cautious. "Jake, we missed you at dinner. You didn't even call." I smiled to myself. I know, I just needed a night in. Another pause. Then she said, "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" I almost slipped back into my old rhythm, telling her everything was fine, reassuring her like always. But this time, I didn't. I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm just figuring out what I want to give my time to." She went silent again. That silence between us after years of noise felt strange. Uncomfortable, maybe. But it was honest. When the call ended, I sat there in the quiet of my apartment. It should have felt lonely, but it didn't. It felt earned. February rolled in gray and quiet. The snow outside my window had turned to slush, but the stillness it left behind lingered, a kind I hadn't felt in years. No calls, no texts about bills, just peace. Until one night, a message broke the silence. "Is greater than Ryan. Hey man, can we talk?" Attached was a photo. The kitchen back home blackened, burned, smoke still curling from the window frame. Mom's old curtains, the ones she loved, gone. His message followed seconds later. "Is greater than fire. Everyone's fine. Insurance might take a while though. Can we borrow a little to get by?" I stared at the screen. That familiar ache in my chest tried to rise. The one that always whispered, "They need you." But this time, another voice spoke louder. "They had choices. So do you." I typed slowly. "Is greater than, glad everyone's safe." Then paused. "I can't help financially right now." There was no anger in my words. Just truth. The kind that didn't need an apology to exist. A few hours later, a knock came at my door. Mom. Her coat was dusted with snow, her hands shaking not from the cold, but from something sharper. She stepped inside, without asking. "You couldn't even send a few hundred?" she said. Her voice cracked between outrage and disbelief. "After everything this family's done for you?" I looked at her for a long time before answering. "What exactly have you done for me, Mom?" She blinked, caught off guard. Then she said it, the same line I'd heard my entire life. "Is greater than, we raised you. We gave you everything." I shook my head. "No. You expected everything back. There's a difference." She went quiet, eyes darting to the floor. Then she whispered, "You've changed." "I had to," I said softly. "Because being the good son was killing me." Her lip trembled, but she didn't argue. And for the first time, I didn't rush to comfort her. When she finally left, the apartment fell into that old, calm silence. Only this time, it didn't feel like isolation, it felt like arrival. That night, I sat by the window with a mug of coffee. Across the street, the city lights shimmered against the glass, flickering like tiny signals of a world still moving forward with or without me. And I realized I wasn't missing out. I'd just stopped showing up where I was invisible. I opened my budgeting app again. No family payments, no quiet debts disguised as love. Just my rent, my groceries, my peace. For years, I thought family meant sacrifice. Now I know it means choice, and mine was simple. I came home for Christmas once, but I left with something better than a seat at their table. My self-respect. Spring came slow that year. By April, the snow had melted into the gutters, leaving behind the kind of air that smelled like rain and renewal. I'd started running in the mornings, nothing serious, just a few blocks before work. It was the first routine I'd ever built that was for me. One morning, as I laced my shoes by the window, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. The message was short. "Is greater than, hey Jake, It's Dad. Heard about what happened between you and your mom. I'm sorry things turned out that way. She's having a hard time understanding. But for what it's worth, I get it. Take care of yourself. No long speeches, no guilt, just words imperfect, but honest. I read them twice, then set the phone down. A strange peace settled in my chest. Not forgiveness, exactly, but acceptance. Sometimes, people don't change because you finally speak up. They change because your silence leaves them no choice but to face themselves. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I stepped outside. The air was cool, damp, alive. Cars passed by. A dog barked down the street. Someone's wind chime clinked softly in the distance. For the first time in years, I felt present, not waiting for anyone's approval, not shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. I jogged past the coffee shop where I used to sit and send money I couldn't spare. Past the post office where I mailed care packages that were never acknowledged. Every step forward felt like reclaiming something invisible, something that had always belonged to me. By the time I got back home, sunlight had spilled across my kitchen counter. I poured myself a glass of water, leaned against the sink, and smiled. Not the kind of smile you fake for family photos. The quiet kind. The kind that says, I made it out. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not getting the apology you hoped for, but realizing you don't need it to move on, is greater than. Have you ever reached a point where walking away felt like the only way to love yourself again? Tell me what peace cost you in the comments.